AMD Cloud Chronicles in association with CNBC-TV18.com.
Hello and welcome to AMD and CNBC-TV18.com present Cloud Chronicles, and I'm your host Rishu Sharma. The global cloud computing market is expected to grow from a whopping $480.4 billion in 2022 to $1,240 billion in 2028, and that is a growth of 17.9%. As of 2023, 94% of enterprises use cloud services in some capacity or the other, with 67% of their IT infrastructure being cloud-based. So clearly, while cloud computing is on the rise, for enterprises, scalability is often a challenge, along with the need to balance cost management and security. So to enable enterprises in balancing these aspects, AMD has been working towards driving tech innovation across sectors. AMD is an undisputed leader in high-performance computing and collaborates with partners to offer advanced hardware and software platforms to address real-world challenges and fuel innovation. So whether it's enabling smart cities and advanced healthcare systems or enhancing digital homes and factories, AMD's cutting-edge solutions are pretty much at the forefront of creating a more intelligent world. And that is with a strong emphasis on AI, machine learning, and high-performance computing. So clearly, it is shaping the future by delivering efficient, scalable solutions from data centers to the edge. And that is what our focus will be in this episode. We will decode the current ecosystem, the challenges, the opportunities, and the future outlook for enterprises that want to stay ahead of the curve. I have a very special guest with me today, Ms. Rishu Sharma, Director, Digital and Data Consulting and Strategy at Birlasoft. So thank you for joining us, Rishu. It's great to have you here with us.
Thank you for having me, Ruchira.
So Rishu, tell me, you've been at the forefront of this whole revolution that we're witnessing and, of course, dealing with the impact of tech adoption and addressing the challenges of security, scalability, workforce management. So how do you really view the current ecosystem and the tech landscape?
Thanks, Ruchira. Thanks for the question. See, if you look at the synergy that cloud and AI bring in together, they have a transformative force, right? In terms of helping organization in driving better efficiencies, enhance collaboration, but also helping them enable future of work, which is where we are seeing all of us progress, including you and I, right?
Of course.
So that is one aspect of it. Obviously, cloud helps you with efficiencies, collaboration aspect, your storage needs, and AI is helping you in meeting the customer experience and driving the decision making faster.
Sure.
But together, both of them, bring in areas, three important areas in my lens. One would be impeccable and enhanced collaboration, not within the organization, but across the ecosystem, suppliers, partners, customers. How do you bring all of that together? That's the collaboration bit. Second part is, getting your organizations ready. How do you have future ready adaptable systems? So these technologies help your organization to reach to a point wherein you are in a position to sort of imbibe the new emerging technologies as we progress on this landscape.
Sure.
And third is the improvement on the efficiencies, including your cost and labor savings and so on and so forth.
Right.
Having said that, some of the key trends, I'd sort of try and bucketize into varied categories. One would be, we're seeing adoption around the edge and the hybrid computing. This is where decentralization of data is becoming important, right?
Absolutely.
The absolute need to have real-time analytics that enhances your decision making. That is one aspect. Now, leveraging AI for varied areas like improved customer experience, improved decision making, which is not only faster but also improved in terms of getting real-time access to the data and thereby impacting your decision
and
making.
single window access as well.
Absolutely, absolutely, that's correct. And then the third aspect is democratization of the data, which is where the power of building AI-driven application not only resides with the technical teams, but it is also it is split across the business team. Now the business users have the power to build these applications, which is really crucial, right?
Absolutely.
And the last part is the sustainability, Ruchira. This is becoming really important, and I see organization adding them as a key matrix in their overall KPIs. So that's another aspect.
And
that
they
I would
want
say.
to reduce their carbon footprint.
Absolutely.
So great, thank you for answering that. But moving on to my next question, what are the common challenges that you have observed as companies attempt to integrate, new age cloud solutions and technologies like AI? What are the typical challenges?
Sure. So, Richard, if you look at the overall challenges that any organization faces, right, not only to limiting to cloud and AI, but for all emerging technologies, there are varied challenges, and I'll try to bucketize into five major reasons.
Sure.
The one is the data readiness. Now, when I say data readiness, it is about ensuring that we don't have data in silos. We have it from the right teams, right users, and across the ecosystem. Second is the consistency of the data, to ensure that we don't have data that is inaccurate or incomplete. So, that is the aspect we want to minimize.
Okay.
The third one is the data governance and the framework, which is where it's important to ensure that we have right policies and compliance around the access that we are giving of our data to the users. So that's the data aspect of it.
Sure.
Second aspect is the integration of the integration with the legacy architecture. Now, inherently, most organizations do have legacy architecture. So we need to ensure how these emerging technologies mix well, marry well with the already architectures that we have made huge investments
And
in.
whether you need a complete overhaul or just
Correct.
some parts.
Whether it is modernization or integration, depending on the enterprise needs. So that is the second aspect.
Sure.
The third aspect is, getting your security posture right. So security is non-negotiable. So for organization, when they're looking at AI and cloud, there are always holdbacks. Is my data safe in the cloud? How do we have the shared responsibility model with the partners? What do we do with incidents that happen? So, that is the third aspect.
All right.
The fourth aspect is the cost, which is where it is, always pivotal, because it's about convincing the, corner office every single time. So how do we get the cost balance with respect to having the actual cost and the, hidden cost? We need to ensure if we have enough buffers for the unanticipated costs. Yeah, that's correct.
Sure.
And the last one I'd say, is how do I get an architecture which is future ready? That is important, right? Future ready adaptable systems is crucial. For organization as they move forward, these investments that we made are not just one-time investments. I need to ensure that my architecture is built in such a fashion that any new emerging technology that comes through, these architectures would be able to support the emerging technology. So that is really crucial. So those five challenges, I'd sort of bucket at that.
Sure. So from a strategic standpoint, and from, of course, your interactions with the various customers, how do you think CTOs and CIOs can really mitigate these risks or overcome these challenges while in the technology adoption phase? What is your learning?
Oh, great question, Ruchira. See, the role of the CTO, CIOs, and the entire, IT leaders, sort of bucketing into one category, they are not only the, change agents, they are the adopters, they are the pursuers. And, these are the leaders who can actually bring in the much needed change with respect to a view on the technology and the business value that we drive from it accordingly. Now, this is where it's important, for the CTO and CIO function to look at having an overall technology roadmap, if you will, right? Thinking about why we are making these investments, how are they aligned to the larger vision? Do we have the business users sort of brought in early so that we can iterate and deviate and pivot as we progress? So that
and how they circle back to the overall business strategy or the business goals.
Correct. Because, correctly put, how do we ensure that these investments are actually helping us meet the business value that we had actually started for? That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, looking at the projects, looking at use cases, starting small. It is always an incremental approach rather than, doing a big bang approach, identifying the, high priority use cases that have, high impact, celebrating small wins. These are some of the areas that, that are critical on this journey. The third aspect is driving a culture of change in terms of innovation. CTOs and CIOs must lead by example. The ability for them to be able to be acceptance of the changing technologies, leading by example, celebrating small wins, but also removing the resistance by explaining the task force as to why these technologies are important is crucial. Yes. The next part is getting your talent ready. Looking at reskilling,
the right skills.
Yes, reskilling in terms of trainings, learning and development, workshops, conferences, to get your task force up to speed. That is really important. Okay. And the next aspect is the security. So that is something that is not non-negotiable. We really need to think about the overall security posture. And I think the last bit is cost. None of the question is complete without the cost, right? We keep coming back to the same point. So yeah, that is again a balance.
So our focus is, as you said, cost management, security, and of course, workload efficiency.
Yeah.
So what are the key considerations, maybe 3 considerations that you could share with us that businesses should keep in mind while they're choosing the right solutions for their cloud computing requirements?
Excellent question, Ruchira. See, if we look at selecting the right solution, selecting the right provider, And because you said three, I'm going to try and limit it into three. The first are the performance considerations. Now, this is where it's important for organization to assess their workload requirements, because each workload would require different sort of environment, right? So evaluating the provider basis that is very crucial. The second is benchmarking the performance basis, the varied factors. It could be your processing power, your storage, your network connectivity, your bandwidth, and all of those aspects, right? That is one aspect. The second aspect on this is the scalability and flexibility, evaluating vendors in terms of the elastic resource allocation. Faster deployment time could be one.
Sure.
The third aspect within this could be latency and geographical distribution. Seeing where the data centers are located, what is the network bandwidth could be one aspect.
Right.
Having right SLAs is also really crucial, Ruchira. So these are all the performance based consideration. The next aspect is the security consideration. Now this is where it is important to evaluate vendors on varied categories. For instance, looking at the physical security of the data centers, the audits that they do both internally and externally, looking at the overall posture of the security in terms of identity and access management, what is their incident response strategy, how do we get all of those balance. And the third is the overall general consideration for the vendors, vendor reputation, their cost associated, the customer support that they provide, how are the vendors aligned with us in terms of a large scale strategy, and how will they enable us there. So three major categories here.
All right. So you were talking about sustainability earlier. Could you tell us how various partners have actually enabled you and other organizations in reducing their footprint, carbon footprint, and actually optimize efficiency?
Sure. See, when we look at the efficiency improvements of these technologies, sustainability is one major bit. And this is where we are certainly seeing that organizations who are looking at, working with partners and providers, that mitigate your carbon footprints, that enhance your energy efficiencies are really important. And this is where, during my days as analyst, Ruchira, I was an analyst before, and, we would do these studies for the, industry. And we would actually find that organizations who are prioritizing sustainability have a much larger, innovation rate, much larger rate to succeed in terms of the efficiencies that they're driving, in terms of the optimization of the cost, also having a better change management feature, if you will. So,
and now it's the need of the hour. It's no
absolutely.
longer negotiable.
Correct. That's right. Yes.
So tell us about some examples from your interactions where companies have significantly improved their productivity and also reduced their total cost of ownership by adopting new age technology.
Sure. See, again, if you look at the overall benefit, now total cost of ownership is one aspect. Definitely, it is out there, Ruchira. But I think if I were to sort of bucketize them again into varied categories in terms of benefits that the organization drive, right from the sustainability, which we just discussed, scalability and flexibility is another one. Then looking at the performance in terms of improved throughput and reduced latency, could be one aspect. Then the next aspect is around, how do we drive faster innovation? And this is where, we're seeing, working with customers wherein we are helping them drive faster innovation because of the, for instance, injecting automation into your mundane processes can actually help you not only get labor savings, but also put your resources into, much more efficient strategic tasks. So that is, one of the way that we are helping organization out there in the customer, and they're actually, deriving benefits from there. So, bringing in the automation as and where needed, that's another aspect. Then we're also working with customers in terms of bringing in the AI features wherein they're able to, cater to their customers better with respect to understanding the customer journey. Where is it that the customers are positioned? What is the customer need? But the overall life cycle of a customer, right from evaluating your products and services to a stage of, hey, I've adopted, what is after service? Are you understanding? Do you take my feedback seriously? And bringing the AI lens there.
Back,
yeah. Correct.
All right. Great. So could you take us through the performance metrics that you have been using, post-implementation of advanced cloud solutions and AI technologies, whether it is, like you said, energy savings or increased efficiency, scalability? Could you give us the metrics that you use?
See, if you look at the matrix aspect, Ruchira, of course, the performance associated aspect where, we discussed, my ability to have increased throughput, my ability to have what is the impact on the resource allocation? What is the impact on the deployment time, right? Basis my need, the ability for me to be able to meet the customer demand, the ability for me to have real-time access to data and thereby make
Real-time
more enhanced
decisions.
decisions is one aspect, right? That is really crucial.
Sure.
Other than that, we're also seeing impact from organizations in terms of enhanced security that they are facing.
All right.
And if I were to look at other areas of improvement, the ability of an organization to derive true business value through an overall leverage of this technology is immense. And when
Of
I say, for
course.
instance, the for an organization to be able to take their products and services to the market at a much faster rate than they otherwise would, these technologies help me reduce my time in terms of reiterating, testing, POCs, and then the final rollout. That is a very major impact, right? So
Absolutely.
apart from the matrix of hey, these are my long-term visions, these are my mid-term and versus short-term,
My long-term,
I strongly believe that having an impact on the business value is very crucial.
All right. So you were speaking about security. Now, obviously, security and compliance is a huge conversation, and especially when it comes to data and financial services. So how do you ensure that, while adopting cloud solutions,
Yeah.
you are not compromising agility and security?
Great question again, Ruchira. See, if you look at the security aspect, this is absolutely non-negotiable, and we've spoken about it earlier. Now, some of the ways that organizations can do that, one is to have a overall cloud security strategy. This is where it is important for enterprises to think about what is my shared responsibility model. For instance, it could be infrastructure is with the partner and provider, and the application data responsibility resides with me. So that could be one way.
All
The
right.
second is the incident response time or plan.
Which
What
is,
do I
again,
do?
very critical.
Yeah. What do I do when there's an incident? What is my plan? How do I manage it? How do I mitigate it? That is one aspect. Now, within that, this is an overarching view. Now, within that, we have providers associated security, if you will, for the lack of better word. Now, this is where we are looking at, evaluating providers who are compliant to the organization need, who are compliant with the, sector need or the industry need, like you said, FSI, right?
Right.
Specific FSI need or sensitive vertical need. And third would be the need of the geography. So that's number two. It's also important to evaluate these providers in terms of, hey, are you providing any specific industry-specific solution for my vertical? Is there something that I can evaluate? That is another
A
aspect.
value add for that
Correct.
particular vertical.
Correct.
All right.
And then looking at the cloud, so these cloud services, they inherently come with cloud native security features. Now, this is where looking at the monitoring tools from these providers is important. Looking at data loss protection solutions is also another aspect. Now, this is one bit of from the provider side. From the organization side, what is it that I can do? I can foster a culture of security awareness. I do learnings, trainings, conferences, workshops for my employee force, but I also do phishing simulation to sort of test and gauge how ready are they on the security. Do they really understand, what are the steps that I need to take forward? Then it's also important to look at the audits part of it, Ruchira. When I say audits, internal audits, third-party audits, how do I do the vulnerability assessment and penetration testing? That's another aspect of it, right?
Sure.
Then looking at the data part, and we've spoken of it before, but data governance is really crucial.
Absolutely.
And all in all, having or adopting a zero trust security model is important. Now, this is where I look at micro segmentation, for instance, isolating my workloads in the cloud so that if there's a breach, the impact is minimum.
Yes.
Also looking at, applying the principle of least privilege. This is where I look at, granting access to the users basis their role. So that's another aspect that I look at. Yeah.
All right. So we were talking about security, and whenever we talk about enhanced security, there is a common belief that costs will increase. So take us through a cost-efficient measure that you have implemented, to maintain a strong security posture without going overboard with the cost management.
Sure. See, when we look at the security, and some of this we discussed before, Ruchira, but I'll just reiterate that into quickly, for our audience. The first one is adopting a zero security trust model. This is where we must look at applying the principle of least privilege, wherein the access is granted to the user basis their role alone. Second is micro segmentation of isolating the workloads and applications in the cloud so that if there's a breach, that is minimized.
Okay.
The second aspect is looking at identity and access risk management, evaluating providers who, who give you this in an optimized way, but also looking at multi-factor authentication could be another area. The third aspect is, right audits, like you said, internal, external audits. How do I leverage solutions like the DLP solutions, that could help me, make my security posture stronger. So that's another aspect. Now, having said that, for organization to look at, having a cost-efficient security, it is also important for them to have their employee base ready. And this is where it is important to have the right, trainings, awareness program conducted within the organization. So that is really crucial. So, that's another aspect that I'd like to highlight.
Sure. So just before we wrap up, the tech environment, of course, is rapidly evolving, and companies need to stay ahead of the curve. They need to remain agile while reducing their total cost of ownership. So what is a single strategy or a key advice that you'd like to give before we wrap up?
Sure, Ruchira. And I'll just leave you with a sort of framework. So I'm a very, modulative person. I put everything into buckets. If I were to just leave you with the framework, what I would say, think of it as in the horizontals, you have your technology, you have your ecosystem enablement, and you have your enterprise planning. Now, within technology, your cloud, AI, collaboration, your agile methodologies, everything, bucketed into that. Now, within your ecosystem enablement, how do you enable your suppliers? Optimizing supply chain could be there. How do you optimize, how do you enable your customers? How do you enable your employees? And we've spoken about all of this. And the third aspect is the overall is enterprise planning. This is where it's important to have a flexible strategy framework, do scenario plannings. Now, cutting them vertically would be your data and security.
Definitely.
Getting your data ready, having the right policies, right framework, right encryption for data in transit versus data in movement, and so on and so forth. And the security aspect. Having a right security posture is non-negotiable. So that is how, I would just leave you with the framework, in 30 seconds.
Great. Thank you so much, Rishu. That was great. And as you said, it's very important for companies to stay agile while managing all these three challenges, which is, of course, security, scalability, and, of course, workload efficiency. So thank you so much for sharing your insights. It was great having you here with us.
Thank you for having me, Ruchira. Wonderful speaking to you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So clearly adopting innovative technologies not only enables organizations to streamline operations, automate processes, but also save costs and enhance productivity. That's it on Cloud Chronicles. Thank you for watching.
AMD Cloud Chronicles in association with CNBC-TV18.com.